So, a very warm welcome to all of you, dear friends. Today's topic of discussion is the probables main questions that we might expect in GS paper 1 with respect to art and culture, history, basically ancient history, that we can expect in the upcoming mains of civil services examination. It will be our endeavor to bring to you the most probable static as well as static laced with current affairs questions. It has always been one of a very favorite of UPSC examiners to give a spin of current affairs with respect to even the static portions as far as history syllabus is concerned. When students prepare for history, specifically in GS paper 1, they do have a strong belief and tendency that history is indeed a static subject. And by doing previous year questions, they are almost settled and briefed to answer the questions that might pose them a challenge in the mains. However, UPSC has always had a nick of making your preparations a bit relevant to the current, even when we speak about history. Although you all might say, and I would agree with you, that most of the current affair questions come in paper 3, that is with respect to economy, environment, security, internal security, so on and so forth, disaster management. But of late, as we will see in few of our slides, that UPSC tends to mirror even the historical questions which come in your day-to-day current affairs. So for example, if an excavation is going on in one of Indus Valley sites or in one of Paleolithic sites, or if any historical debate is in news, let's suppose with respect to historicity of medieval kings or historicity of Mughal era kings, their contributions, so on and so forth, UPSC gives the same thing in your exam. Point in case is with respect to the prelims questions that came in 2022 UPSC CSE prelims. That was with respect to Ramanujacharya. Now Prime Minister Modi inaugurated many important projects, as well as a colossal statue dedicated to a Bhakti saint, 11th century Bhakti saint, Pandit Ramanujacharya. And it featured in prelims. So does many other questions. But here we will be main specific, and we'll try to move forward, keeping in mind the various questions that might come. We'll also have a look at the previous year questions. So the first set of questions which we believe might come relates to the ancient monument and archaeological sites remains amendment bill 2017. Now this bill, I might add to you, has been very much in news with respect just recently Minister of State G Krishna Reddy, he discussed about the coming up of, I might try to mold the question again. Okay. Okay. So the next set of questions that we might see and discuss is this. That is with respect to the ancient monument archaeological sites remains amendment bill 2017. Now this bill has been in news for a very good period of time. Basically, it was presented in 2017 in Lok Sabha, and it has remained in the select committee stage of Lok Sabha. That means without being passed and going to the other house, that is Rajya Sabha, it has remained in the select committee deliberations. Why does it become important for us for mains is because in this month of May, as we are recording, the Minister of State for Culture, G. Krishna Reddy, had talked about making new amendments to the said Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Amendment Bill. Now, this bill dates to 1958, a very old bill which has some or the other elements even coming up from the colonial government era, that is from the Britishers' time period. Now, in the light of coming up excavations and in the light of increasing population in and around monuments which are protected under ASI, that is Archaeological Survey of India, the government of India is facing a challenge to integrate the conservation of these monuments as well as to manage the aspirations as well as apprehensions by the people who live around these monuments. For example, some rules dedicate in these said amendment bills about the nature of proposed area that to be conserved in and around these monuments. For example, no new construction or no construction is allowed around these monuments in order to protect the context in which these monuments are present. I'll give you a simple example. Let's say Qutub Minar, which is situated in Mehrauli area of Delhi, is protected like all the other monuments, which is called ASI protected monuments under the said act. And according to this act, you cannot build any structure in and around the monument, for example, Qutub Minar here. But what is the extent and what are the various parameters, who all are exempted categories, so on and so forth. These are some of the challenges that government face. Now, along with this question, we have also told about the Central Advisory Board on Archaeology. Now, why does it become important for you? I've tried to put both of these questions together because they sort of do the same job. Now, Central Advisory Board on Archaeology was reconstituted, or was in a simple way, if I would say, was reconvened almost after 2014. That means we are in 2022, and after 2014, this body has been reconvened by the Ministry of Culture. We should all know that Archaeological Survey of India works under the tutelage of Ministry of Culture, although it is an independent body. But very recently, it has been reconvened, and it gives added importance to the questions and to the various archaeological projects that has been going on in India. For example, in this budget itself, Government of India has earmarked 5 sites which have sort of become important sites, nationally important sites, and they are all archaeological sites. Which are those? I would like you to comment upon them, and we shall also discuss in course of our class. So going forward, to answer this question, the bill amends, as I told you, Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Act 1958. As I told you, the act defines prohibited area and area up to 100 meters around the protected monuments or area. Central government can extend the prohibited area beyond 100 meters. Now, the main bone of contention is just this. Dear students, I would also like to tell you that what I'm providing here is the content for the answers. A desirable and a logical point-wise presentation of answer uh, depends upon the style of your writing. Also, it depends upon the question and how and in which tone it is asked. But here, my endeavor is to provide you with the most important content of the answer, and in sooner following videos, we will also talk about the way to write answers. So, for example, here, I'm talking about mostly the content part of it. So the central government can extend the prohibited areas, and this becomes the bone of contention. Now, due to various other statements given by Ministry of Culture, also given by the ASI, we see that this section might be diluted. Now, the stand to take in the answers can be yours and yours alone. For example, if you agree with it, what are your answers? If you don't agree with it, what are your answers, right? Understand that no opinion is incorrect, provided you give supplementary logical arguments, and that is what is important. So the act also prohibits construction in the prohibited areas, even if it is for public purposes. So some areas can be declared as prohibited areas. Now, this is a 2017 amendment bill. Okay, let's keep that in mind. The bill also amends this provision to permit construction of public works in prohibited area. So, for example, some public works can be allowed, but in the prohibited areas, even public work will not be allowed. Now, what is the definition of public work? That is also defined in the said proposed bill. So, for example, the bill introduces definition for public work, which includes construction of any infrastructure that is financed and carried out by the central government for public purposes only. Okay. So, all this becomes an important part of your answer, provided you know the bill and provided you know the debate around this bill. Understand, the debate around this bill is basically between 2 points. One point is to preserve the national heritage, and because there has been increasing number of historical awareness among people that they keep on finding, for example, monuments, or even if I may say, artifacts belonging to a yesteryear time period, it puts a lot of resource burden on the government to manage these monuments. Most of them are monuments of national importance. Sometimes ASI also brings a time period upon which you can be considered for being eligible candidate for monument of national importance, and that is 100 years. Suppose a monument is 100 years old, and if it has historical significance, that monument can be taken up under care and tutelage of ASI. Now, there are thousands of such monuments. The list goes on. Delhi itself boasts of around 400 to 500 of these monuments. There are many others who vie for that tag. There are many others who want that tag. Now, in the increasing sense of this historicity or historical awareness by people, there has also been a constant struggle around these monuments, especially by the people who live around these monuments. And there, you can say, very logical reasons that if they live around these monuments, they ought to create some physical infrastructure for living. Now, the act in its original form does not allow you to build around its vicinity. When it was amended in a way that 100 meters is what is allowed. Now, according to the recent statements that we have found or that we come across from the Ministry of Culture, the ministry is planning to make the said premises depending upon site. So earlier, it was all depending upon all the sites. It was a universal feature of this act that any monument protected under ASI, no construction will be allowed 100 meters around its vicinity. But now, according to some reports, this amendment can be made that site-specific regulations can be given. So let's suppose site-specific regulation for Purana Kila, site-specific regulation for Charminar, site-specific regulation for Sasaram's Sher Shah Suri's tomb. It all depends on site, and it all depends on subjects. Now, are you to write about the stated observations by the ministers or by the bureaucrats? No, until and unless it is given either as a submission by the ministry to the courts, or it is in the planning stage, or it is in a draft stage which is submitted to the Parliament of India. But a question can be expected on any lines of these Monuments Act. Please also understand that UPSC has asked questions about the national, for example, manuscript missions. It has also asked about questions which relate to the legislation that preserve our heritage. It has also asked questions throughout the time period of GS paper 1, which relate to both history as well as legal history. So it is important that you keep in mind regarding the present day current affairs that has been going on, and we shall try to study more about it. Now, coming to the second part of the question with respect to the Central Advisory Board on Archaeology. Okay. Right. This is the corollary to the subject that we were just doing. For example, if there is any question which is related to construction, it qualifies as a public work, it will be referred to National Monument Authority. Please also note it down that National Monument Authority is one of the very important authorities which relate to the management of monuments. Okay. Moving forward to Central Advisory Board. Now, Central Advisory Boards, it has been constituted to strengthen the contact between ASI and the field of archaeological research. The board will include 5 persons nominated in their personal capacities by the Government of India and former Director General of ASI. So whatever the board's constitution is, the board will meet once a year, and its function would include advising the center on matters related to archaeology. Now, why does it become important? Understand, I'll just give you a case study. I'll just give you an example. For example, there was an increasing demand, a day-by-day demand by the government of Tamil Nadu for the excavation of a site called Kiladi to the ASI. Now, ASI is a central body that works under the central government or the union government under the Ministry of Culture. Any state government can request the ASI to carry on archaeological surveys and archaeological excavations. Is archaeology a state subject or a central subject? Now, please find it out. But as far as excavations are concerned, archaeology or the Archaeological Survey of India is a national level body that is mandated to do the excavations. Having the right, so the state government of Tamil Nadu requested it again and again, which was not carried on till 2017. After 2017, ASI decided to carry on the excavations at Kiladi. Some observations were made. Again in 2019, the state government itself took the charge of excavations of Kiladi in Tamil Nadu, and it gave its own presentation. So, in the light of these center and state tussle, with respect to even, you might have heard about center and state tussle with respect to GST, center and state tussle with respect to river sharing or river sharing agreements between two states. But here we are talking about a simple case of archaeological studies and findings. Even these so-called sources of non-political study can become political. And that is why it becomes important for us to look at the newly constituted boards. Now, this board of archaeological study or archaeological advisory board will give a lot of advice with respect to archaeology. Now, that has not been found yet in the government of India. And closer contacts between the Archaeological Survey of India with Indian universities conducting archaeological research. that is also being promoted. Here, the institute, the Deccan College, becomes very important. Deccan College has been in forefront in making all of the archaeological discoveries in and around the subcontinent. Hence, this board becomes important for us. Also for the prelims, if for the next years, if you're following current affairs. So this is one question that we discussed.